Hi children, good morning. How is your work going on? Are you watching the videos? Yes, welcome back to our session. So what is our topic? That means what is our lesson? Transportation in animals and plants. So in the yesterday's class we have learnt about the excretion. Is it? So excretory parts in the human beings. That is nothing but the kidneys. Excretion. Is it? Yeah. Have you seen? If any doubts over there, you can clarify by me. Next. So today's our topic is transport of substances in plants. Until now we have seen about the animals. Today's class we are going to see the transport of the substances in plants. How children? How the plants are going to get the minerals, salts and the nutritions? We are going to take the food, morning tiffin, afternoon lunch, in the middle snacks, tea, coffee, is it? And night dinner, these many things it is happening in our life. So by this we are getting the energetic food, is it? Then how the plants are going to get the food? Yeah. So from, if you pour the water, the roots are going to absorb the water from the soil and some of the minerals which it is present, that also will be absorbed by the root and it is going to transfer to the tree, and the leaves are going to prepare the food by using of the carbon dioxide photosynthesis. Is it? This and all processes going on in the plants. So how this transport of water and minerals are supplying to the plants? How children? The main thing we can see the vessels for this. Is it? The first, if you take to the underground, the root will be. Here the root hair, the hairs also will be. So if you take the root by the sides, we are going to observe the hairs. That is nothing but the root hair. Increases the surface of the root and it is going to absorb the water and also the mineral nutritions which it is dissolved in the water and also as well as in the soil. So the root hair is in the contact of the water presence between of these water particles. And still we will be having the question, how it is going to transfer to the plant. Is there any other means? Yes, we are having the vascular tissues. The vessels are made up of the special cells forming of the vascular tissue. What is that? Vascular tissue. So, what do you mean by the vascular tissue? So, vascular tissue. What do you mean by the vascular tissue? The vessels are made of special cells forming the vascular tissue. So, what are the vessels? That means it is present in a plant. The vessels are made special cells. In that the specially cells will be having that or forming as the vascular tissue. Then, what do you mean by tissue first of all? A tissue is a group of cells. A tissue is a group of cells that performs specialized function in an organism. What do you mean by tissue? A tissue is a group of cells that perform specialized function in an organism is nothing but the tissue. So, in this vascular tissue, we are having once again the two, that is the xylem and the phloem. Let me see now, what do you mean by the xylem and what do you mean by the phloem? What do you mean by xylem? The vascular tissue for the transport of water and nutrition in the plants is called as the xylem. That means the vascular tissue of the transport for the water and also the nutrition in the plant is called as xylem, which it is going to give. That means transport to the plant is nothing but it's known as the xylem. It connects roots to the leaves through the stem and branches and thus transports water to the plant. From where? From the roots to the leaves, through the stem, from the roots to the leaves, through the stem branches. It is going to supply the water. That means to transport the water to the entire plant. Next, what do you mean by phloem? The leaves synthesize food. The food has to be transported to all parts of the plant. The leaves, we know that by using of the sunlight, it is going to prepare the food, and also this process we call it as the photosynthesis. Is it? Yes. So, the leaves synthesizes the food. The food has to be transported to all parts of the plant. This is done by the vascular tissue called as the phloem. So, which are the two things it is going to respond for us? That is nothing but xylem and phloem. Thus, xylem and phloem transport the substance in the plants. These are the tissues of the vascular tissue. What are those? The xylem and the phloem. Next, what is transpiration? What is transpiration? Plants absorb mineral, nutrients and water from the soil. We know that the water evaporates through the stomata present on the surface of the leaves by the process of transpiration. So, what do you mean by the transpiration? Plants absorb mineral, nutrients and water from the soil. The water evaporates through the stomata present on the surface of the leaves by this process of transpiration. So, transpiration also cools the plant. Okay. So, by this we have completed our chapter, that is transportation in animals and plants. Okay children. Regarding this chapter, if any doubts are there, you can clarify me. Okay. Thank you.
System in the plants. We already know about the circulatory system in the animals, specifically in the human beings. When the doctor injects the medicine in the vein using an injection, the blood carries it to the place where the medicine is required. Thus, the blood carries food and oxygen to each organ through the blood vessels to keep it functioning in the animals. What about plants? How are food and water carried in the plants? The food is prepared by the leaves. How does the food prepared in the leaves reach all the parts of the plant? The minerals and the water absorbed by the roots need to reach the leaves where they can be used. So, the plants need transportation system too, just like the animals. There are many kinds of plants, from small herbs to huge trees. So, the transportation system in plants vary a little with the plant type, but the basic is the same in all types of plants. The food, water and minerals get carried through the pipe-like structure formed by the special tissues. And if you remember, tissues are a group of cells that perform a specific task. The water is the transport medium. That is, the water carries the minerals as the plants don't have blood like us. As we know, the roots absorb the water and the minerals from the soil, and the pipeline which is used to transport it to the leaves is made of special tissues called xylem. Now let us perform an experiment to understand the functioning of the xylem. Cut a herb with a white flower. Place the stem inside a beaker half filled with water. Now put a few drops of red ink in the water and stir it well. Keep it undisturbed and watch what happens the next day. The next day, you will see that the few red lines have appeared in the stem and the petals of the flower. Why? It is because the red water rose through the pipeline of xylem tissues in the stem to reach the flower. So we see the xylem tissue cells form a continuous network of channels to connect the roots to the leaves, to the stem and the branches. Thus, water is transported to the leaves. Now the question is, how the water rises up the xylem tissue, or how can the water from the roots reach even the leaves of the very tall trees? You know, the leaves release water. How? We already know the water evaporates through the stomata present on the surface of leaves by the process of transpiration. This evaporation of water from the leaves generate a suction pull or an upward pull, and the water rises from the xylem to make up for the lost water. So, the water absorbed through the roots feel an upward pull because of the loss of water in the leaves through the transpiration process. You know, this upward pull is just like the upward pull which will make the drink rise through the straw when we drink any juice or cola through the straw. Imagine you are drinking any juice or cola using a straw. When you suck the drink through the straw, the upper part of the liquid column enters your mouth and more drink enters into the straw to make up for that empty place. And this is how we are able to drink using the straw. So now you know how the water rises up the xylem tissue. The xylem forms a continuous network of channels that connects the roots to the leaves through the stem and the branches, and thus transports water to the leaves. Now the question is, how do roots absorb water from the soil? To understand this, let us perform an experiment. Take a large potato and peel off its outer skin. Cut it into two halves. Now make a deep and hollow cavity in one half. Fill the half of the cavity with sugar solution and mark the level by a pin in the wall of the potato. Put the potato in a petri dish with little water. Keep it untouched for few hours. What do we see? The water level inside the potato cavity rises. How did this happen? The water traveled from one cell to the neighbor cell, and thus it entered the cavity inside the potato from the outside. You know, this is the same way in the plant. The water reaches the xylem from the root hair through other cells. The roots have the root hair. The root hair absorbs the water and mineral nutrients dissolved in the water as they are in the contact with the water present between the soil particles. For the very short distances, the water and the dissolved minerals can move from one cell to another and reach the xylem tissues of the roots from the soil. And how is the food transported to all the parts of the plants? Well, the food prepared by the leaves reaches all the parts of the plants through a pipeline made of special tissues which are called phloem. Just like the xylem tissue, the phloem tissue also forms a continuous pipeline to transport the food to all the parts of the plants. So now you know the xylem transports the water and minerals from the roots to the leaves, and the phloem transports the food from the leaves to all the other parts of the plants. That was all for now. Bye bye.